Introduction. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the best-selling financial books in history, selling over 35 million copies. Rich Dad, Poor Dad tells the story of Robert Kiyosaki and his two dads, his birth father, whom he calls his poor dad, and the father of his best friend, Mike, whom he calls his rich dad. Kiyosaki's poor dad was a highly educated man who worked hard all his life but never made much money. His rich dad was less formally educated but was a successful businessman. Kiyosaki observes that his poor dad always struggled financially, while his rich dad was very successful. He attributes this difference to the fact that his poor dad simply did not understand money, while his rich dad did. The two dads in the story represent two different approaches to wealth. Poor dad recommends getting a secure job with good benefits and retiring with a pension. Rich dad, on the other hand, recommends amassing assets that make money for you, becoming financially literate, and practicing independent thinking. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide which approach is best for you. But remember that wealth is not created by working hard. It's created by owning assets that generate income. So if you want to become wealthy, start by learning how to make your money work for you. Kiyosaki goes on to say that the biggest difference between the rich and the poor is not necessarily how much money they have, but rather how they think about money. He argues that if more people thought like the rich, it would be able to achieve financial success. Before we start with the first idea, make sure you check our app Morfosis after the video. Our app delivers key insights from nonfiction books in easy-to-digest animated summaries. We have a 7-day free trial link in the description below. Also like and subscribe if you want to see more summaries like this. Idea 1. Don't let fear rule your life. Robert and Mike were two of the poorest kids in school. One day, Robert asked his dad how to become rich like the other kids. His dad didn't have a good answer for him, but he did suggest that Robert talk to Mike's dad. Mike's dad was the rich dad, and he seemed to be doing well for himself, so maybe he could teach them some things about money. When Robert and Mike talked to Rich Dad, they found out that he wasn't born into wealth either. He'd worked hard for everything he had, and he was still working hard today. The rich dad told them that the key to becoming wealthy was to start their own business. He also said that it was important to be smart with their money and not let others control their finances. With advice from Rich Dad, Robert and Mike started their own business melting down metal toothpaste tubes to make nickels. However, it didn't work out well for them. So they asked Rich Dad for advice again. Rich Dad looked at the two young men in front of him and sighed. He was busy, but he had made time for them early in the morning so that they could have this discussion. "Here's my offer," Rich Dad said. "I'll teach you, but not like a teacher in a classroom. If you work for me, I'll teach you. If you don't work for me, I won't teach you." The two young men looked at each other, then back at Rich Dad. "Can we ask a question first?" one of them asked. Rich Dad nodded impatiently. "No, take it or leave it. I'm too busy to waste my time. If you can't be decisive and make up your mind quickly, you'll never learn to make money. Opportunities come quickly and go quickly. You need to know when to make fast decisions. I just gave you an opportunity that you asked for. Will you take it?" If they take the deal, it means working for 10 cents an hour in Rich Dad's convenience store. They know this is an unfair wage, but they take the deal anyway because they know that they will learn from the rich man himself. But after working for a few weeks and still nothing learned from the rich dad, Robert wants to quit. His friend is amused since Rich Dad expected he'd want to quit and wanted to meet afterward. Before the meeting, the poor dad tells Robert to demand a raise to at least 25 cents an hour. If he doesn't get the raise, poor dad counsels Robert Kiyosaki should quit immediately. Kiyosaki takes poor dad's advice and starts the meeting by demanding more money and better treatment. He says that he didn't teach him anything. He also threatens to sue for child labor violations. Rich Dad responds by saying, "Not bad. In less than a month, you sound like most of my employees." Many people take jobs that pay them less than they deserve because of fear. They are afraid of not being able to pay their bills, losing their job, or not having enough money. As a result, they let fear control their emotions around money, and they become slaves to working just to make money. The author's anger showed Rich Dad that he had enough passion and independence of mind to be worth teaching. Rich Dad is pleased and says, "You boys are the first to come to me asking how to make money. Out of all of my employees, 150 people, not a single one has come to me to learn about money. They ask for a job or a bigger paycheck, but they never educate themselves about money. So instead of understanding it, they'll just spend their lives working for it." Rich Dad tells the author and Mike that they need to continue working, but without getting paid. When Kiyosaki complains, Rich Dad challenges him to either go back to the original deal of 10 cents per hour or look for another job. Rich Dad advises him to use his head. After working for a few more weeks, the kids are confused about what they are supposed to be learning. Rich Dad tells them that there is a lesson to be learned here. If you don't learn this lesson, you'll end up like other people who work hard, clinging to their pay and constantly looking forward to their vacation days and little raises. I'll raise your pay to 25 cents an hour. Does that excite you? Do you want to take it? Rich Dad keeps raising the stakes, eventually offering $1 an hour. The author's imagination runs wild at the thought of having that much money, but he knows he is being tested. Each person has a weak and needy part of their soul that can be bought. Each person also has a part of their soul that is strong and can never be bought. The point of the lesson is that most people get caught in a loop between fear and greed when it comes to money. They're afraid of not having enough, so they work hard to get a paycheck. But then once they have the money, they spend it all on things they think will make them happy. This cycle continues even as their income increases, and eventually money ends up running their lives. Rich Dad was trying to teach the kids not to let emotions dictate their decisions about money, but rather to think things through carefully. He did this by having them work for free at first and then gradually increasing their pay. This was meant to show how adults often settle for incremental raises that keep them in the rat race instead of chasing their dreams. Idea 3. Forget the paycheck and get creative. Rich Dad tells the kids that the key to success is to stop thinking that you need a regular paycheck. He advises them to keep learning and working for free, as this will help them to see opportunities that other people miss. The paycheck keeps you safe, and that turns off your brain. You need to find more creative ways to make money. After working for free for a few more weeks, Kiyosaki has an insight. The store he worked in regularly disposed of its comic books. Could they collect the books and start a comic book library open to the public? They could charge other kids 10 cents admission for unlimited reading, a clear bargain since a comic costs 10 cents each. With some work, they launched the library with great success. They earned $9 per week over 3 months. They pay Mike's sister $1 a week for managing the store. However, after 3 months, bullies break into the room and Rich Dad suggests they shut down the business. But the lesson was learned. By not being paid, they were forced to find opportunities to make money. They avoided being distracted by the short-term carrot. Idea 4. Rich people don't work for money, money works for them. Most people think that the best way to become a millionaire is to work for a company and aim for a high salary. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Do you think most millionaires are high-level employees? Of course not. The vast majority of millionaires own businesses or assets that generate income for them passively. This means they don't have to exchange their time for money like an employee does. Instead, they use their time to build an asset that works for them around the clock. Of course, you can't just become a millionaire overnight. You have to start somewhere. This usually involves working on yourself and learning new skills that you can then leverage into a business. Once you have a business up and running, you can then hire and train people to manage it for you. This is why some people make 100 times more money than others. They leverage other people's time. You can also leverage land or technology, but we will cover that in more detail later. The point of this lesson is that you need to stop thinking about how you could make more money by working more hours. Instead, you need to think about how you can make money work for you. This is the key to financial freedom and becoming a millionaire. So the first step to take if you want to become a millionaire is to start your own business. This may seem like a daunting task, but there are plenty of resources available to help you get started. Once you have a business up and running, you can then focus on building it up so that it generates passive income for you. The more businesses or assets you have that generate income for you passively, the closer you will be to becoming a millionaire. There are many different ways to generate income, so do some research and find out which method would work best for you. Remember, the aim is to make money work for you instead of exchanging your time for money. This is the key to financial freedom and becoming a millionaire. Idea 5. Understand the difference between an asset and a liability. Most people think that a house is an asset, but it's actually a liability because it requires maintenance, repairs, and property taxes. And it doesn't generate income. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So when you're looking at houses, don't look at them as an investment. Look at them as a place to live. And if you want to invest in real estate, look for properties that will generate income for you. You can do this by buying rental properties or investing in commercial real estate. The key to financial success is to acquire assets that generate income and minimize liabilities that take money out of your pocket. If you do this, you'll be on your way to financial freedom. Now let's see other forms of assets. There are many different types of assets, but here are a few of the most common. Businesses, rental properties, commercial real estate, investments, stocks and bonds, mutual funds, commodities. Each one of these can generate income for you, and the more assets you have, the more money you'll make. So if you want to be financially successful, start acquiring assets. But it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. So you have to understand what a liability is. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. There are many different types of liabilities, but here are a few of the most common. Houses, cars, credit cards, loans, debts. If you want to be financially successful, you need to minimize your liabilities. The less money you have going out, the more money you'll have left over to invest in assets. And the more assets you have, the more money you'll make. Idea 6, schools will not teach you how to be rich. As Rich Dad took Robert and Mike under his wing, they had total access to his private business dealings. This allowed the boys to learn about what it takes to be a successful business owner quickly. However, they began to have problems in school because the skills they were learning from Rich Dad made it difficult to take their studies seriously. The boys were repeatedly told that success and wealth come from hard work and studying, but they did not realize that financial literacy is also important. Many children are not taught about topics like saving or investing, which can lead to poor financial decisions later in life. For example, 50% of the workforce in the United States does not have a pension plan. Kiyosaki's key lesson is that it is important to educate yourself about financial matters and to establish a financial strategy. By doing this, you can become financially literate and make sound decisions with your money. A financial strategy can help you to set goals, stay on track, and make the most of your money. It is important to find a balance between saving and spending and to invest for the future. Kiyosaki recommends that you start small, but start now. Don't wait until you have a lot of money saved up before you begin investing. The sooner you start, the better. Kiyosaki's advice can help you to take control of your finances and build a bright future. So what are you waiting for? Start learning about financial matters and creating your own financial strategy today. Idea 7, take risks. One of the biggest changes you may need to make is learning to take risks. In the real world, it's often not the intelligent people who get ahead. It's the daring ones. Being brave enough to take risks is something that all wealthy people have in common. If you don't face your fears, you'll miss out on a lot of great opportunities in life. People who are studious and intelligent often have a hard time financially because they're afraid of what others will think of them if they try to do something different or risk losing money. But success always takes courage, so it's important to overcome your fears if you want to achieve anything in life. Financial intelligence can be reduced to two key components: knowledge and courage. These are what separates the rich from everyone else. Financial intelligence allows people to quickly spot opportunities and have the courage to follow through with them. To the outside observer, it may look like these people are just lucky. However, they are actually creating their own luck by being financially intelligent. In sitting in on Rich Dad's business meetings, Robert and Mike learned that lesson. With financial knowledge and courage, one can spot opportunities quickly and make the most of them. In other words, one can almost invent money. Idea 8, focus on learning. When Robert graduated from college, he landed a steady and well-paying job almost immediately. For most people, it would have been a dream come true. But for Robert's rich dad, this was not the case. After only 6 months, Robert quit his job and joined the Marine Corps to learn how to fly. His poor dad was bewildered by this decision, but his rich dad congratulated him. The reason? Rich Dad understood that Robert was not simply trying to make a steady salary. He was trying to learn. He understood that making money is what assets are for, and that learning is an important part of building wealth. Poor Dad saw work as simply a way to earn a paycheck. He was an academic man, intelligent and well-educated with a PhD. His path in life had taught him that it was specialization, not a broad base of skills and knowledge, that led to riches. In the academic world, the higher up you go and the more you learn, the narrower your topic of study becomes. In much the same way, doctors are often eager to specialize in a single chosen field as soon as they graduate. For some people, specializing like this might make sense. But for poor Dad, it did not lead to the wealth he desired. Rich Dad, on the other hand, had a broad base of knowledge, even though he never finished 8th grade. This is why he encouraged Robert and Mike to spend time in a variety of different departments within his business empire. They worked in restaurants and construction, sales and marketing, accounts and reservations. The goal was not to find one single field they might like to spend their careers in. It was to equip them with the range of skills and knowledge necessary for growing rich. And this is the lesson. Don't just work to earn. Working to learn is much more important. When you focus on learning, the money will follow. Idea 9. Don't let cynicism keep you poor. Cynicism is a negative attitude or outlook characterized by a general distrust of others. A person who is cynical may be quick to believe that people are motivated purely by self-interest and that they can't be trusted. This cynicism can lead to feelings of pessimism and despair and cause someone to give up on trying to make positive changes in their life. Cynicism is often used as a way to avoid taking any risks or putting in any effort. It can be easy to fixate on all of the reasons why something might not work out and convince yourself that it's not worth trying. However, this pessimistic attitude will only serve to hold you back from achieving anything great. People who are successful in any field are usually those who are willing to take risks. They don't let the possibility of failure deter them from pursuing their goals. Instead, they see each setback as an opportunity to learn and grow. This optimistic outlook allows them to embrace challenges and keep moving forward even when things are tough. But why do we get cynical? Cynicism is often born of disappointment. We're disappointed when we don't get what we want, when things don't go our way, or when life doesn't turn out the way we expected it to. It's easy to become a cynic when you're constantly let down, but cynicism is a self-defeating mindset. It will keep you from achieving your goals and prevent you from being happy. Don't let cynicism stand in your way. Don't let it keep you from pursuing your dreams or living your best life. Cynicism is nothing more than a negative attitude. It's a choice that you make. Choose to be positive and optimistic instead. Choose to believe in yourself and in the possibilities that life has to offer. You'll be much better off for it. Idea 10. Don't be lazy. Some people feel that developing financial intelligence is too much work. However, would you rather put in some hard work now and enjoy decades of a better life, or suffer for the rest of your life? Busy people are often the most lazy. They stay busy as a way of avoiding something they don't want to face. For example, someone who works all day and weekends to make ends meet, without confronting bigger problems like how to build wealth or their family's well-being. They can brush off investment opportunities as, "I don't have the time." In reality, they don't want to push themselves to do the harder thing of figuring out novel, less obvious solutions to getting more money. Forcing yourself to think about how to make more money is like exercising at the gym. The more you work your mental money muscles out, the stronger you get. Eventually, money starts flowing to you more easily. But just like going to the gym, it requires breaking out of your comfort zone and doing something that's initially difficult. That's why lazy people don't get ahead financially. They never start working on their money muscles. So if you want to get ahead financially, don't be lazy. Use your spare time to learn about investing, saving, and building wealth. Take the initiative to figure out new ways to make more money. The harder you work on developing financial intelligence, the easier and more enjoyable life becomes. Idea 10. Don't be lazy. Some people feel that developing financial intelligence is too much work. However, would you rather put in some hard work now and enjoy decades of a better life, or suffer for the rest of your life? Busy people are often the most lazy. They stay busy as a way of avoiding something they don't want to face. For example, someone who works all day and weekends to make ends meet, without confronting bigger problems like how to build wealth or their family's well-being. They can brush off investment opportunities as, "I don't have the time." In reality, they don't want to push themselves to do the harder thing of figuring out novel, less obvious solutions to getting more money. Forcing yourself to think about how to make more money is like exercising at the gym. The more you work your mental money muscles out, the stronger you get. Eventually, money starts flowing to you more easily. But just like going to the gym, it requires breaking out of your comfort zone and doing something that's initially difficult. That's why lazy people don't get ahead financially. They never start working on their money muscles. So if you want to get ahead financially, don't be lazy. Use your spare time to learn about investing, saving, and building wealth. Take the initiative to figure out new ways to make more money. The harder you work on developing financial intelligence, the easier and more enjoyable life becomes. Idea 12. Don't be arrogant. Arrogance is the result of a lack of knowledge or understanding. If you want to improve, be open to learning new things and don't be afraid to be considered foolish or ignorant. Instead, use that as motivation to educate yourself. Intelligent people are usually open to new ideas since they understand that new perspectives can add value and contribute to a more well-rounded understanding of the subject. So don't be intimidated by people who seem smarter than you. Instead, try to find out how you can work with them. Don't feel like certain trades or occupations are beneath you. Some people have an aversion to learning sales techniques, for example, without realizing that nearly every aspect of the world runs on some form of sales. So being arrogant and thinking you're better than others will only hinder your ability to learn and grow. Instead, try to be humble and always be open to new experiences. You never know when you might learn something valuable. Idea 13. You don't need money to start a business. Some people never start pursuing their dreams because they think they don't have enough money. But this shouldn't stop the courageous opportunists from making progress. You can start a business without money. If you learn a skill that others need, you can start a business by offering your services. You don't need any money to get started, and you can set your own hours. This is a great way to be your own boss and make some extra money. There are many skills that people need, so you can choose something that you're good at and enjoy doing. Some skills that you can offer as a service include web design, graphic design, social media marketing, SEO optimization, copywriting, proofreading, editing, These are only a few examples, but there are many other businesses you can start without money. If you have a skill that you're passionate about, there's a good chance that you can turn it into a successful business. Do some research to see what services are in demand and then start marketing yourself. You can use online platforms like Fiverr or Upwork to find clients where you can reach out to businesses directly. With some hard work and dedication, you can build a successful business that provides you with the income you need to start investing in other assets. Idea 14. Learn more and faster. As the world changes, new opportunities arise. In the past, land was the basis of wealth. Then factories and industry became the new basis for wealth. Today, it's information. And by its nature, information changes more rapidly than land or manufacturing. So it's even more important to keep learning and adapting quickly. This doesn't have to be difficult or intense. Robert Kiyosaki mentions jogging through his neighborhood to spot which houses were listed for sale for longer than others and making lowball offers for these houses. The more you learn and the more experience you get, the more money you make, which gives you more chances to learn even further. The faster you can iterate your knowledge, the faster the returns compound. So it's important to keep learning quickly and effectively. Use these 4 tips to help you learn quickly and effectively. 1. Find a way that works for you. We all learn differently. Some of us are visual learners, while others prefer to learn through hearing or doing. There is no one right way to learn, so find a method that works best for you. If you're a visual learner, try using flashcards or watching educational videos. If you prefer hands-on learning, consider attending workshops or taking classes. Experiment until you find a learning style that suits you best. 2. Try different methods of learning. In addition to finding a learning style that works for you, it's also helpful to try out different methods of learning. For example, if you're trying to learn a new language, you might want to try both formal classes and more informal methods, such as listening to podcasts or watching movies in the target language. By mixing up your learning methods, you'll keep yourself engaged and be more likely to retain what you learned. 3. Get plenty of practice. Repetition is key when it comes to learning. The more you practice, the better you'll get at whatever it is you're trying to learn. If you're having trouble remembering something, try writing it down or saying it out loud several times. Practice makes perfect, so make sure you get lots of it. 4. Never stop learning. Learning should be a lifelong process, no matter how old you are or what you do. Idea 15. Learn broadly. We mentioned this on an idea above, but let's dive deeper. Many people with great talent in a trade aren't rich. They're specialists and proud of it. Often, they just need to learn and master one more skill to dramatically boost their income. For example, how many people can make a better hamburger than McDonald's? Most people would think so. Then why does McDonald's make more money than they do? Because McDonald's has mastered a business system while most people focus on building a better hamburger. Notable examples of underappreciated skills include sales, marketing, communication, negotiating, investing, people management, and financial intelligence. Consider taking a pay cut to work at a firm where you'll gain a critical orthogonal skill, like marketing at an ad agency. Rich Dad invited his son and the author to work in a broad set of roles at his companies: busboy, construction worker, accounting, and participate in meetings with bankers, lawyers, and accountants. This gave them a well-rounded view of how businesses function, something that was invaluable later on. So look ahead at what skills you want to acquire before choosing a profession and specializing in the rat race. It may be more beneficial in the long run to learn broadly instead of focusing narrowly on one area. Idea 16. Have a reason. Robert Kiyosaki says that it's important to find a deep reason for wanting to succeed financially. This is usually a combination of what you want and what you don't want. For example, many people don't want to work all their life or be an employee. They may have hated watching their dad miss important events because he was always working. Maybe they want the freedom to travel when they're young or the control of their own time that comes with being financially successful. He gives the example of someone who wants to be a millionaire so that they can quit their day job and never have to work again. This person is likely to make different decisions than someone who simply wants to be a millionaire because they think it will make them happy. The first person is more likely to invest in their own education and take risks that will pay off in the long run because they have a clear motivation for doing so. Some people choose financial success because they want to retire early and enjoy their life while they're young. Others want to be able to take care of their family and give them the things they never had. No matter what your reason is, make sure it's something that will drive you to achieve your goals. If your reason for wanting to achieve financial success isn't strong enough, it will seem like too much work. That's why it's so important to find a deep-seated motivation for wanting to improve your financial situation. Once you have that, everything else will fall into place. Idea 17. Be picky with your friends. Choose friends carefully. Consciously make an effort to learn from them. Don't seek people for their money. Seek them for their knowledge. It's important to be picky about who you spend your time with and make an effort to learn from them. Seek out people who have already accomplished what you want to do and pick their brains for advice. On the other hand, stay away from those who are always negative or pessimistic. They'll only bring you down. Ironically, rich people tend to have friends who always ask them for favors like loans or jobs, but never bother to ask them how they made their money in the first place. Having the right influence can make all the difference, so choose your friends wisely. Idea 18. Master a method to make money. Focus on one method of making money and learn it inside and out. Once you have mastered it, move on to another method. There are many ways to make money, but the most important thing is to find something that you enjoy doing and stick with it. If you love what you do, the money will follow. It may not happen overnight, but if you persist, you will eventually see success. Idea 19. Pay yourself first. Another idea that Rich Dad Poor Dad promotes is paying yourself first. This means that before you pay your bills or make any other purchases, you should set aside money for investments. The pressure will force you to creatively think of ways to generate more money. This can be a difficult habit to form, but it's worth it in the long run. The key is to make sure that you don't dip into your savings or investments when times are tough. Instead, protect your assets so that they can grow over time. By following this advice, you'll be on your way to financial success. Idea 20. Pay your advisors well. There's an old saying that goes, you get what you pay for. When it comes to financial advisors and brokers, this could be more true. If you want quality advice for your money, you need to be willing to pay for it. Of course, this doesn't mean that you should blindly accept whatever your advisor charges, but it does mean that you shouldn't be stingy when it comes to compensating them for their time and expertise. Think about it this way. Would you rather have a cheap doctor who cuts corners and doesn't give you the best care possible? Or would you rather have an expensive doctor who takes the time to get to know your unique situation and provides you with the best possible treatment? The same principle applies to financial advisors and real estate brokers. A good advisor is worth their weight in gold. So if you're serious about making smart financial decisions, make sure you're willing to invest in a quality advisor. Idea 21. Use banks to get free assets. When most people think of getting rich, they imagine working hard for years and finally achieving a comfortable lifestyle. However, there are actually many ways to become wealthy without doing much work at all. One such way is through real estate investing. For example, imagine you purchase a house with a loan. You then use the rent from tenants to pay off the mortgage on the property. Once the mortgage is paid off, the property generates money for you every month without any additional effort on your part. This is an example of a good asset to purchase. Sophisticated investors always think about ways to get assets for free. They leverage the bank's money to make more money in the long run. Idea 22. Buy assets, not luxuries. It requires fortitude to resist the temptation to spend any extra money you get. This is especially true when it comes to borrowing money to buy things that you want but don't necessarily need. By focusing on creating money and buying assets, you can set yourself up for long-term financial success. In order to stay disciplined with your spending, it is important to have a clear understanding of your goals. Why do you want to save money? What are you hoping to accomplish? When you know what your end game looks like, it becomes much easier to say no to unnecessary purchases. It can be difficult at times, but it is crucial that you stick to your plan. Remember, every time you resist the urge to spend money on something that you don't need, you're one step closer to achieving your financial goals. Idea 23. Find your personal hero. Your personal heroes out there. Emulate their behavior. Learn how they make decisions and how they got to where they are. Heroes who make it look easy convince you to be just like them. If it's easy for them, I can do it too. But how do you go about emulating their behavior? Here are a few tips. 1. Look for someone who is doing what you want to do. If you want to be a successful writer, look for a successful writer. If you want to be a CEO, look for a CEO. You get the idea. 2. Study their behavior. How do they make decisions? What kind of mindset do they have? What are their habits like? 3. Try to learn as much as you can about how they got to where they are. What were their biggest challenges? How did they overcome them? 4. Remember that your hero is just a person. They're not perfect and they've made mistakes, but they've also achieved great things. So don't be afraid to strive for greatness yourself. Idea 24. Give first. If you want good things to come your way, put good out into the world first. It's the rule of reciprocity. What goes around comes around. So if you're looking for more sales, help someone else sell something first. If you want more smiles, be the one to flash those pearly whites first. And if you're looking for more love, give love unconditionally and endlessly. Sure, it sounds like a cliched self-help platitude, but there's scientific evidence that backs up the power of giving. Studies have shown that people who give to others are happier and live longer than those who don't. So go out into the world and start giving. You'll be surprised at just how much you get back in return. Let's sum it all up. These are all the main ideas of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Idea 1. Don't let fear rule your life. Idea 2. Don't work for money. Idea 3. Forget the paycheck and get creative. Idea 4. Rich people don't work for money. Money works for them. Idea 5. Understand the difference between an asset and a liability. Idea 6. Schools will not teach you how to be rich. Idea 7. Take risks. Idea 8. Focus on learning. Idea 9. Don't let cynicism keep you poor. Idea 10. Don't be lazy. Idea 11. Be greedy. Idea 12. Don't be arrogant. Idea 13. You don't need money to start a business. Idea 14. Learn more and faster. Idea 15. Learn broadly. Idea 16. Have a reason. Idea 17. Be picky with your friends. Idea 18. Master a method to make money. Idea 19. Pay yourself first. Idea 20. Pay your advisors well. Idea 21. Use banks to get free assets. Idea 22. Buy assets, not luxuries. Idea 23. Find your personal hero. Idea 24. Give first. Love this book's summary? Watch more in our app. If you find that reading is becoming a chore, then you need Morfosis. Our app delivers key insights from nonfiction books in easy-to-digest animated summaries. With our 7-day free trial, there's nothing to lose. Get the knowledge you need without hours of reading. Start your free trial today by clicking the link in the description below.